Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Dathan Days. And today, as you have seen with the title and the thumbnail, yes, we are here at the KTM showroom to check out the 390X. So let's dive into the video, talk about different specs of the motorcycle, and let's see how it feels and how it looks. So guys, to give you the power figures, start off with, this is a 389cc engine which produces around 46 horsepower and 39 Newton meters of torque. It is a pretty good motorcycle, has pretty good power and gives you the confidence on the road as well. So this bike is a slightly stripped down ADV compared to the 390S, because the 390S gets full off-road capabilities, while this gets a much more user-friendly and a much more city-friendly motorcycle. And the previous gen 390X was like, a budget friendly option where you buy the 390X, you add parts like the spoke wheels and the different suspension units of the 390SW variant to make it a cheaper option to match the 390SW. But with the 2025 model, you don't need to do that. This has everything that the 390S has. But there are some features that differ, and that will be a future video for the 390S, where actually that's going to be a long video giving you in detail about 390S. But yeah, we're here to talk about the 390X, so let's focus on this bike. The 390X, the previous gen that we've had for around 5 years now, this was considered as the better bike among all variants because first of all, it was a very comfortable bike, and the suspension of the 250 was used in the 390X. But now it shares the same suspension as a 390S as well, which is a pretty good thing. You have very good off-road capabilities, and this does have non-adjustable suspension. The rear suspension on this motorcycle is the same suspension that's been used in the S, and more than calling it the S, let's call it the standard from now on, because more or less it's the same bike but a slightly stripped down bike. So yeah, it shares the same suspension as that. You can adjust the preload of the rear suspension by hand, so you need to get off the motorcycle, use a tool, and then change your suspension for the motorcycle. And apart from that, this bike is around 165 kgs, which is 1 kg heavier than the 390S or the 390 standard. So guys, now to talk to you about the wheels. This comes with a 1917 setup, and this is a 130 section tire, and front is a 90 section tire. However, this is an adventure model, but then this comes with alloy wheels, and KTM has tuned the suspension very well, and the alloy wheels are also very strong, that even though you plan on going off-road, a slight off-road where you're not like jumping over rocks, just like a slight off-road where you need to get over things, these alloys are very strong and it gets you places. And it has been proven by a lot of people who have the alloy wheel version of the previous gen, but even this is very strong. So all of us want to know, compared to the Himalayan, how comfortable this bike is. So this bike is as comfortable as a Himalayan. The only thing is that this shares a rally style seat, while the Himalayan, it is much more comfortable for the pillion. This, as a single rider, you will enjoy it, and if you carry pillion, you can carry it for a short distance, but long distances the pillion might feel slightly uncomfortable. Coming to talk to you about the seat height, this seat is around 825 mm and the ground clearance is around 228 mm, which basically means is that KTM has raised this bike higher, and they have lowered the seat height, giving this bike a thinner waistline, which helps in maneuvering around the city very well. And for all height differences, you can ride this bike without any worry. So this bike, it's designed keeping in mind the Dakar rally inspiration, and the Dakar rally has been painted orange for decades because KTM has been winning Dakar, and Dakar is the place that they have their name printed. So keeping that in mind, this bike is designed keeping Dakar in mind, and the way the headlight looks and the way the bike looks as well. The previous gen 390 was not actually the ADV that KTM planned. The previous gen was just a Duke in a taller body, that's it. But this is the actual ADV that KTM has worked on, tested and brought into the market. Now to talk to you about the headlight, this is a pretty good headlight. It is all LED headlight and it has a very good throw, and the high beams also are pretty bright and gives you a very good distance to see. So let me just switch it on. This does comes with DRLs in the side plus a stack design for the headlights as well. If you haven't seen my video on the 250 Adventure, I'll put a link, the I button on top here, so you can go check out the 250 as well. So yeah, back to the 390. So guys, if you want to see how bright the projectors are, now you know. This, even a pitch dark road, this can light it up really well and give you very good visibility. So this bike is a much more kinder, user-friendly, a much more commuter-based motorcycle, and all the settings on this motorcycle, whether it's a suspension or the way the bike feels, is a kinder, calmer motorcycle compared to the S. The S is like a hardcore, proper off-roading, if you know what you're doing kind of motorcycle. So this bike comes with a 14.5 liter fuel tank, and you can average this to around 25 kilometers per liter, depends on how you ride, because there are some YouTubers who took this out for a good test ride and they said if you keep it at a very slow and a very controlled pace, you tend to get around 30-31 kilometers per liter. But if you are very hardcore rider, you want to experience the full throttle, then you get around 20. But if you know and you know how to ride and you ride it very sensibly, you can average around 25-26 kilometer per liter. But what I'm saying is there are chances that you can get 30 to 31 kilometer per liter, and there are chances where you can get 20 kilometer per liter. All depends on how you ride and how you handle the motorcycle. This bike comes with a higher replacement of the screen, and this shares the same screen as a 250 and 390S as well. This is a 5-inch display, and it's a pretty bright display. So let me just switch it on. So the previous gen had it around here, and then they moved it up, keeping in mind the Dakar style. So now to talk to you about the menu. So let's go into the menu. So firstly, to move into the motorcycle, you have ABS modes, which is road, and you get it in off-road mode as well, where it switches off the rear ABS and you get to play around with the motorcycle, understand the motorcycle a little more. Then you get your display mode, which you enter that. This is a standard style display, and then you can switch it to a minimal display, which shows your speed here and your gear number here. Very minimalist, and people who prefer a minimal design can prefer that. Or if you want all this information like your traction control, everything to be displayed on the screen, you can use a standard display. This gives you info about the motorcycle, which is your trip, your fuel range, coolant temp, battery, odometer, all of these. After that, you have your navigations and music control and your call. So you connect your phone and this connects very well, and KTM connection is pretty good with all the motorcycles. It does have pretty good feedback as well. And your different screen settings, like what is your favorite screen, you can set up on the lower part of the screen. You can set up what you need for it to display. Your quick selector, so the buttons on here, you can choose what the button, the function of the button is. So if you want to pick up a call, you set the top button to pick up a call. You want to change the music, you set up this button as the music change. And then the connectivity, again, you connect your phone. Shift light is basically, instead of having the shift here, you make the screen go orange when it hits the red line. And your clock and date, again, as it says, you change the clock and date. It all happens when you connect your phone, automatically syncs in. Units is either kilometers or miles. Quick shifter, yes, this bike comes standard with a quick shifter up and down, and you can either leave it on and or if you don't want it, you switch it off. But I would prefer leaving it on, because here and there when you get a free open stretch, you get to feel the gear shifts, and KTM gear shifts, the quick shifter is smooth, and with this new bike they've done it very smooth. And then there's some extra functions and where you can add it later on. So that's a little about the screen. and this bike doesn't come with riding modes. The riding modes, that is the extra riding modes like the road, rain and off-road, comes on the S, while this doesn't get any riding modes, and this also doesn't get any traction control as well. It is preset standard traction control, but on the S you get different types of traction control. You get cornering ABS. All will be a much more detail in the 390S video. So guys, we're finally on the KTM 390 ADV-X, and as I showed you before, the display is a pretty similar display which is shared by all the KTM's the KTM lineup, and it's a very simple display, a very easy to maneuver around display. And as of now, what I'm doing is I am trying to shift into the simplified view, which doesn't give a lot of information. It just gives very minimal information, which gives you only the gear number and the speed as well. And yeah, we're on the 2025 KTM 390X, and right away you need to check it out that this bike comes with a crawl feature. So let's talk about the crawl feature a little further in the video. So this is a very powerful bike, but it is not as powerful and as tricky as the Duke, but it has a very slow growing power. But don't forget that this bike still has the 390 power, and this still has KTM blood running in it. So the crawl feature is basically a tiny twist of the throttle or just half clutch, and the bike starts moving, which helps you to move in and out of traffic very well. Once you get going, the bike feels very smooth and easy. The throttle response is sharp but not jerky, and the power delivery is nice and predictable. The quick shifter, guys, it is super slick. Shifting up and down is effortless, making the whole ride feel seamless. It handles really well, it is light, it is nimble, but still feels solid on the road. Leaning into corners, it feels natural, and the suspension is just dialed right. Not too stiff, not too soft, comfortable for every ride, but firm enough when you want to push it a little bit. The brakes are strong with good feedback, so you always feel in control. The whole setup makes the bike feel light and fun to ride, whether you're cruising through the city or hitting some open roads. And as you see now, the quick shifter, I'm using it up and down, and it is so smooth that you don't feel the gear shifts at all. The only thing is you need to time your gear shifts right in order to have that smooth shifting of the gears. And the upshifts were really smooth, the downshifts were also really smooth, and it did have some rev matching as well. So KTM have really dialed this bike in. It's a very smooth, easy to ride and a fun bike when you want it to be. Whether you're just starting out or looking for a solid upgrade, the 390X has a lot going for it. And honestly, if you're considering the 250, the 390 should be kept in mind, because this time around KTM has done a fabulous work with this bike. Whether it's the quick shifter or whether it's the engine. Yes, the engine is the same engine that's shared in the 390 Duke, but then this feels a lot more capable in off-roading and also a lot more calmer than the Duke, which gives you the confidence on the road. So my final thoughts on the 390X is that this is a pretty good bike to start off with, and it does give you a lot of off-roading capabilities, but it is a good bike for the city as well. If you're planning to start out your off-roading career, you want to explore things, this bike helps you to learn a lot. To talk to you about the price of the motorcycle, this comes ex-showroom of around 2.91 lakhs, and I would say that this is a very well priced motorcycle in such a way that you can get the 390X and still get all the riding gear, helmet, gloves, everything, and still have amount left to fill the tank full before you reach the price of the 390S. So people who are thinking of moving up and getting the 390 as a first bike, this is a very good option. The price difference between the 390X and 390S is around 70,000 difference. So I would say if you're a proper off-road motorcyclist and you know what you're doing, you know how to adjust suspension and all, go for the 390S. But if you're starting out, the X is a good option. And for people who are thinking of getting the 250, I would say this is the right time you choose to upgrade to the 390 and think about the 390, because this is an amazing motorcycle. So guys, that's the video on the 390X, the 2025 model. So hope you'll enjoy the video. Stay tuned. See you in the next one.